Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Stranger Things Season 4 Cinematography and Filmmaking Breakdown. In this video, we're looking at episode 3, so let's go. So we're starting off with this dining room scene here with 7 characters sat at a table. I've seen some behind the scenes photos as well, and there's definitely some cases where they're putting diffusion underneath those light sources. And then there's a couple of practicals as well in shot, camera left and camera right. But for the most part, it's a pretty simple lighting setup, just this overhead soft light coming from above the table. Okay, so our first shot here away from the wide is a shot of Murray. I've actually recreated this shot as well, so I'm going to show you that now. Now for this setup, all I've done is position myself at the end of this table. I have a doorway behind me, representing the room that's behind our character Murray. And then I've also got another character on the right-hand side of the frame. So there's only 2 lights lighting this scene. The main light, our key light, is right above the table, right in the center. I'm using a square softbox, and the edge of that softbox is then where the character is sat, just outside of that. So the light is just falling onto their face, creating a little bit of a shadow underneath the neck, and then there's no light. You know, if it was above them, it would be casting all the way back on the top of the head and the shoulders and stuff, but it's directly sort of in front of the characters. And that's the same for all the other characters as well. And then there's another light I've positioned at the back because you can see it in our original frame here. There is a light source within the kitchen coming from camera left to show that there's some sort of light source. And again, it's to create depth so the image doesn't all fall to black behind him, give him that separation from the background. I just wanted to see if I could recreate the rough setup. I'm not going for anything like costume or any color schemes or anything like that. I literally just want to know where the lighting is, the quality of it, and also rough framing as well. And I think this has worked out pretty well. Okay, moving on then, we're going over coverage. So here we have Murray's shot, then we have the reverse, so Murray's point of view. And notice that in a lot of these shots, we have a foreground element, maybe someone's shoulder, so it's an OTS. So now we jump to another shot, our 3 characters on one side of the table, and again, left and right, we have the 2 characters opposite them in frame, just so we're knowing where we are. And again, giving that depth as well. Back to Murray's shot. Now we have a single, and now we have a single of Murray. Now we have a single of Mike, back to the original shot. Now we have a single of 11, back to the single of Joyce, the over the shoulder and the over the shoulder. Now we have another shot. This is an over the shoulder from Joyce's point of view and the 3 characters on the right of her to get all their reactions. And then we have the same, but for Murray, over the shoulder to the 2 characters on his right, back to the single of Joyce, back to this one. Now we have a 2 shot without any shoulders or anything like that. So that's all I wanted to do for this one, just to show you how you can do coverage. And it can be very time consuming when you do it this way, but this is the result, what you get. And also the lighting is very basic. It's really kind of easy to replicate this. Just a few practicals in the background, your main light source, nice soft light source above the table, and have everyone sat at the edge around that light source so they're not directly under it. All right, moving on. Okay, for our second sequence, we're looking at an exterior shot, middle of the day. We're starting on this wide shot to establish where we are. The framing here, we've got the post box in the foreground, giving us again that depth. The road also works as a really nice leading line, draws us right around to the characters who are in the middle of the shot. And then we got all the background elements, the caravans and the trees, etc. Lighting wise in this shot, all natural daylight. Our characters are being backlit here by a 3/4 backlight, giving them a nice edge. We jump to the next shot. Again, same principles. We've got the foreground element on the camera left. We have our characters. This is sort of like a medium wide. Again, the same sort of lighting, this edge light, cutting them out from the background. And then we do have background elements as well. So plenty of depth in this shot. Now we come to the coverage again, which we discussed in the last scene. Again, we're using the over the shoulders and having, whenever we're on a character, we're pretty much seeing an edge of a shoulder to dirty up the frame, but also to give it depth. You know, this is our foreground element here, camera right, and then we have plenty of depth in the background. Again, natural daylight here, hard light sources. This is probably a shot where I think there's maybe a bit of bounce coming from camera left. Natural daylight again, probably a little bit of bounce. If you're ever wondering where the light source is coming from or what quality is, those kind of things, shadows is a giveaway, but also the eyes. If you look in the eyes and you can zoom into an image, the eyes are basically a mirror and will show you where the light source is coming from. So again, we're just going over the shoulders on these shots. And there's a bit of movement as well. There's constant movement to all these shots, which I really like, compared to the last sequence we just saw, where the camera is completely static. And I think the reason why they're using this camera movement is because there's a conversation going on with these characters, and it's all up for deliberation. They're trying to figure things out. And I think that camera movement actually adds to the atmosphere and the storytelling part of it, which that's what it's all about. Then we cut to this, another wide shot. It's really cool because it breaks it up from just over the shoulders of the dialogue going on. Again, foreground elements of the car, the midground, our characters, now being side lit pretty much with the sun. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to show you guys in this scene that I found quite interesting. Got our characters, they're always going to be backlit in this scene. You can tell straight away here, we've got real nice backlight. It always edges out the characters really nice when it's from, either slightly left or slightly right and not directly behind. So we have our character here on the right, and we can tell there's hard light. That natural sunlight is just, smashing her in the face because she's edged out with that light. Now we come to the reverse shot. Okay, we see Steve's point of view over the shoulder, again, creating this depth. He's on frame right, got that edge light from the sun, and now our character is very much diffused. There is something like maybe an 8x8 or a 12x12 frame of diffusion, camera left, out of frame, so obviously you can't see it. If we're seeing the floor, we're gonna see that diffusion frame, we're gonna see that stand or whatever is holding it up. But we can tell immediately that she is stood in diffused light, trying to make it a bit more soft and flattering on our subject. Every time we change to the opposite direction where she's looking towards, all our characters are stood in this natural hard light being edged out, and it's great. And it's definitely a quick way to shoot as well. Another reason we can tell is when this character is about to leave the far side with all the other characters and join our character who's stood next to diffusion. Here we go, she's about to leave, cut, she's in that nice soft light now. And as she leaves, I'm gonna quickly slow it down here, frame by frame. You can see the edge of that frame on her back as she leaves. So the takeaways from this scene are when we're shooting in hard light, it's really about not having the sun in frame and also using that light as our backlight, a 3/4 backlight, either left or right to the character slightly, just to give them an edge. Always putting things in the foreground, having our characters in the middle, and then still seeing elements in the background. And then also when we can do over the shoulders like this, and we're just in an open space where there isn't any sort of chalets or sort of roofs to shelter our characters and hide that hard light source, we can use diffusion, and it's all about hiding the ground where our character is stood so you don't see that diffusion sort of stand out. And let's jump into the final breakdown. So jumping into this scene, our first shot is kind of an establishing shot. It's showing us, or the audience, where we are. We have the flags and police siren and car right in the foreground. So we kind of know where we are. And then we cut to another wider shot, definitely showing the audience where we are. 2 police officers walking past, and then we have the police station in the background, and we know where we are. One trick I like what they do is they jump straight into a close-up of the subject. Now the audience knows where the characters are. So we jump to this close-up. We don't jump to the wider shot to show everyone here. We jump to the close-up, and then we jump to this wide shot within the police station, okay? And I really like this because it's a frame within a frame, right? Our frame is whatever we put in the shot and show the audience. And the frame within the frame is this window showing the room that our character is inside of with these 2 police officers. And what I really like about here, the lighting setup is quite simple. We've just got kind of a soft backlight, these 3 sort of light sources from right at the back of the room. It's just giving us a light on the characters and lighting a bit of the room. And then we also have very soft light around the edge of this window just to illuminate it, and the rest of the image falls into darkness around the sides. A quick little thing as well in regards to audio that I want to point out is the audience's POV is stood outside of this room looking in to the room with our character, right? The audio they play represents that as well. It sounds like there's a crappy little speaker on the side of this wall somewhere, and we're hearing the audio and this dialogue through that speaker. So here we go.
I'm gonna need you to give me a verbal response.
And then when we jump into the room with our characters, the audio flips and replicates that as well. So the audio then becomes really clean and warm and full again.
No.
She doesn't seem that upset about it, does she?
Okay, going back to coverage, we go to a single shot of our characters and then we flip to the reverse. Notice how the camera, when we flip to the police officers, the camera is as low as you can get to that table, really making our police officers feel dominant and large and overwhelming to our main character, 11. And then we flip to the single of 11, the character's more on her sort of level, probably a roughly eye level or maybe opposite her sort of chin area, making her feel a lot smaller compared to the police and giving them the effect of intimidation. Then we cut to a single and a single again. So this next shot is what I was talking about earlier when I said about trying to find creative shots that also help the narrative and give the tone of how our character is feeling. This shot here really represents, I feel like, that she's boxed in, that she's being trapped. Okay, the elements in the foreground, camera left and camera top right, we have the corners of the desk and we're filming her from underneath. She's kind of smaller and like with the edges of the ceiling and the corner of the wall, it almost feels like she's boxed in. And you could film this for the entire scene, but it gives you the opportunity to use it just for this one part of this scene where it's going to have the most effect. And that is maybe when she's being questioned and she maybe feels like her world is sort of closing in around her. And this, again, is what cinematography is about. It's about the image representing how the character is feeling or helping tell the story visually. Okay, so that is it for our scenes breakdown in this episode. I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't seen the others, please go back and watch those. I've already done episode 1 and 2. This is number 3 and 4 will be coming out soon. I hope you enjoy. Take care and I'll see you soon.